لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك. في المدينة محمد نبينا بنور هدينا محمد نبينا بنور هدينا.
The in-house training embarked upon by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON) for enhancing the capacity of its staff continues. A paper titled An Overview of the Pension Reform Act 2014 as it affects contributory pension scheme was presented by the Secretary to the National Pension Commission, Mohammed Sani Mohammed. In it, he highlighted the benefits and challenges of the scheme as well as the way forward for pension in Nigeria.
Pension fund investment is not it is not done anyhow. It has to be in an instrument that is being traded on a recognized platform, either the stock exchange or the money market that is approved by the central bank. So these instruments are not many. So we don't have depth in the financial sector, but we are working with the deal makers at the moment. We are assisting them to make sure that they come up with instruments that measure up to our own standards so that the operators can, invest in them. We also have problem with understanding because for the first time in Nigeria, we have a system where people have seen that something is working in terms of financials. They send money and then they receive the benefits, they receive alerts as to their credit. So they want that pension fund in the RSA to do almost everything.
The lecturer further discussed some of the new policies being adopted by federal government aimed at sanitizing the pension system in Nigeria. The presentation generated questions from participants and the lecturer offered answers.
Sharia compliance, I'm sorry we are overbeating the issue, but it's so important to us. How much can individuals be given a chance to decide where their funds are invested in?
On investment recently issued recognizes Skook, and then also the presence of halal instruments on the stock exchange. That should be a facilitator for the rollout of the Sharia compliant funds. I agree with you. It is part of the discussions we had right from the word go when we were discussing about coming up with the multi-fund structure.
Speaking on behalf of NAHCON management, Head of ICT Unit Dr. Ashiru Dawra appreciated the lecturer for the in-depth research done on the subject.
I think it was very informative, and I urge you to make it something regular to other MDS. Really, people need to be informed. As you mentioned in your, when you mentioned among the challenges, the expectations are very high for people to retire. So really, people need to be informed so that they know what they are going to get. I've really learned a lot. I have been collecting pension, but there are so many things I never understood. I understood them today. Nobody ever informed me before retirement, even after retirement. But I've learned them today. We thank you once again for this, and we hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you abundantly.
As part of the reforms being implemented by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON) to enhance its operations, the Commission has concluded plans to procure more than 80% of its drugs from Nigeria. This is a departure from the past where the purchase was done in Saudi Arabia. Head of NAHCON National Medical Team Dr. Ibrahim Kana stated this in an interview.
Yes, we are buying 80 to 90% of our drugs in Saudi Arabia, only 10 to 20% in Nigeria. But we have decided to reverse it. We have to boost the economy of our country. We have good pharmaceutical companies producing very highly potent drugs in Nigeria. Why shouldn't we patronize them? Why shouldn't we create employment for our people? Why shouldn't we boost our pharmaceutical companies? This year, we are buying 80% of our drugs in Nigeria. And we are giving priority, high priority to made in Nigerian pharmaceutical products. We have discussed with the Saudis and they have agreed. We shall ship our drugs long before Hajj into the kingdom. Of course, there are some drugs that require refrigeration and certain temperature and certain preservative processes. Those ones we can't afford to buy them here until we get to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia for us to buy.
Dr. Kana then reiterated the commitment of NAHCON to improve on its medical delivery plan by providing the system with more equipment and the needed personnel.
We have enough human resource, financial resource, and everything that is required to provide medical services for our pilgrims. Now, we start from Nigeria, screening, awareness creation. Moving to Saudi Arabia, awareness creation, awareness creation, awareness creation. If you are sick, this is where to go to. If you get there, these are the services to be provided. And the medical personnel are there providing the best services that they can. Of course, our program is to provide just primary healthcare services. Thereafter, we refer them to the Saudi hospitals. We are more than capable of doing that as a commission.
Last year, NAHCON introduced for the first time a national medical team which brought all medical needs under one roof. It was designed to allow for more efficiency and ensure compliance with Saudi regulations. The chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON, Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar, says the commission is partnering with the International Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance for effective financial management and improved service delivery. He stated this when he received the management of the institute on a courtesy call led by its director, Professor Binta Tijani.
We are dealing with billions of nairas of pilgrims' funds. Do we continue to allow us just to be a transit point where the money comes in from the intending pilgrims, then go to the service providers? It has value because services are rendered, but what about value to our economy in terms of revolving such funds? What about value to our economy in terms of giving benefit to even the pilgrim who make such deposits, so that by the end of the day, it will be a win-win situation?
Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar also stated that the partnership will go a long way in actualizing NAHCON's quest to establish a Hajj Institute for the training of Hajj managers.
Our understanding of Hajj is the management of human and material resources to perform a religious function in a foreign country. So that requires people to have a fair knowledge of what human management is, what resource management is in terms of financing, accounting, government regulation and procedure. They also have to understand how logistic management is, how logistics is being coordinated in terms of luggage, flight operation, road transportation. They also have to understand some basic aspect of human relation.
Speaking earlier, the director of the bank, Professor Binta Tijani, said the institute is prepared to work with NAHCON in the area of financial management, investment, Hajj savings scheme and research development.
We are ready to partner with you and do whatever it is that it takes to make you succeed in your assignment. If you need research, supportive research on any aspect of your work, we have the capacity to do it. But most importantly, I want us to be, all of us, the ambassadors of Islamic finance, to carry it forward, to be able to establish and structure services that will make our stakeholders, enjoy the fruits of Islamic finance.
The Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board of the Federal Capital Territory is set to begin Hajj education and orientation exercise for its pilgrims. A statement by the board's public relations officer, Mohammed Lawal, says Islamic scholars have been mobilized for the assignment, which will take place at the FCT Permanent Hajj Camp located along Abuja Airport Road. Mohammed Lawal explained that the Enlightenment campaign will be conducted in phases to enable pilgrims understand Hajj rites as well as the new policies introduced by NAHCON and the Saudi authorities. He also advised the intending pilgrims, particularly first-timers, to take advantage of the programs to educate themselves about the Hajj. Ekiti State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board has commenced the refund of the outstanding basic travel allowance to pilgrims that were shortchanged during the 2016 Hajj. The chairman of the board, Alhaji Abdul Latif Agbaje, who disclosed this, explained that the state governor, Mr. Ayo Fayose, has directed the board to commence the disbursement of the fund to the affected pilgrims immediately. The refund being made is sequel to complaints by the affected pilgrims to the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON), in which they protested against the $750 given to them as BTA instead of the $1,000 after paying over 1 million naira as Hajj fare to Ekiti State Pilgrims Board through agents. However, the head of the Ekiti State Muslim Pilgrims Board urged Muslims in the state who wish to perform this year's Hajj to obtain forms at the office of the board in Ado Ekiti, the state capital.
The airlifting of Nigerian pilgrims to Saudi Arabia and back home to Nigeria after they perform the Hajj is the responsibility of National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON). This is in line with the provision of Section 4 subsection A1 of the NAHCON Establishment Act 2006. It states that the Commission shall license, regulate, supervise and perform oversight functions over organizations, associations, corporate or non-corporate, or similar bodies engaged in organizing and coordinating the movement of persons from Nigeria to Saudi Arabia to perform the Hajj or Umrah. In carrying out this function, NAHCON hires the services of some airliners for the successful airlifting of pilgrims during the Hajj period. As part of its strategy to get the best services for Nigerian pilgrims, NAHCON conducts screening exercise for airliners after submitting their application seeking to take part in airlift operations. A committee involving relevant stakeholders set up by NAHCON puts this into effect.
A committee was set up and it had up to 32 members, and the 32 members were drawn from different agencies of government like the NCAA, Ministry of Aviation, FAN, NAMA, and Accident Investigation Bureau. And in fact, there were participants from even EFCC, ICPC, Custom Services, Immigration, and even representatives of state pilgrims welfare boards, along with officials of the National Hajj Commission, who sat and received applications for airlift and considered the applicants on the basis of certain technical parameters before recommending to the board of the commission, which subsequently endorsed the report and submitted it to government for approval.
Technical, financial and operational capacities are some of the requirements needed from the competing airliners.
Generally, it would require an applicant to be an airline, and such airline would be registered and recognized by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authorities, and at the same time by Saudi Civil Aviation Authorities. And then if they are found eligible, then they will be recommended appropriately. Possession of aircraft, possession of relevant permits and authorities from the respective civil aviation organizations, and having operational offices and operationally qualified staff are among the criteria that are used.
The rationale behind the screening exercise, among others, is to ensure a better service delivery and international security. Having settled for the airliners that met its conditions, the National Hajj Commission will then communicate its decision on the choice of airliners to the states, who in turn will now select from the list the airline they prefer.
And then it is now the state that chooses which airline to airlift its pilgrims. After making the choice, it would inform the commission formally, that is in writing, that our state, so state, has chosen this airline or this and that airline to do our airlift.
All things considered, there are many factors that determine the number of aircrafts required for successful Hajj operations.
To say this is the number, you have to go back to kind of a set of factors. What is the distance, what is the flight time, how many passengers there are, and so on and so forth. But if you look at the number of passengers or the number of pilgrims that Nigeria is taking, you have around 70,000, 76,000, and if you accept that 10,000 per 747 type of aircraft is appropriate, maybe 6 or 7 as the case may be. But what is most important is not actually the number of the aircraft, but what is called rotation time. That is to say, if you take off from Nigeria, you are going to Saudi Arabia, and then you are coming back to Nigeria to pick. This will determine the number of flights you will have all in all. And that number of flights will now determine maybe the number of appropriate aircraft you will have.
In the event where an airliner becomes unable to discharge its duties, NAHCON has taken some measures that include the collection of bank guarantee of the airline involved, replacement of the airliner.
The ritual of Rami al-Jamra al-Aqba, which entails throwing stones at 3 different pillars. They signify the 3 locations at which Prophet Ibrahim refused to be tempted by the devil. These 3 pillars are Al-Jamarat al-Ula, first column, Al-Jamrat al-Wusta, second column, and Al-Jamrat al-Aqba, symbolizing Shaitan. Each pillar must be hit at least 7 times with the stones picked up at Muzdalifah. These stones should be pure, meaning they have not been used at Al-Jamra even by the pilgrim himself. The sequence of Jamrat should be observed on the 11th and 12th of Zulhajj, when the ritual of stoning the 3 Jamrats is mandatory. On the 10th day, which is the day of Eid, only Rami al-Jamra al-Aqba is performed. Pilgrims are advised to consult their local imams or guides on the details relating to the number of days for the stone throwing and the pebbles required for the outings. The things to note before and during the ritual are: pilgrims are expected to have intention of stoning the Jamra in line with Allah's injunctions. Pebbles should be hurled one by one, and throwing 2 pebbles together is considered as throwing only 1. Pebbles should strike Jamra, and if there is a doubt, it should be performed again. And then, the time to perform the stone throwing is from sunrise to sunset. This ritual became tradition since Shaitan appeared to Prophet Ibrahim in the site of Al-Jamrat, trying to persuade him to disobey Allah's command, and Ibrahim threw stones at him.
I don't know what the Commission is doing this year to prevent.
How often has the National Hajj Commission embarked?
How can they make it more comfortable? At the national level, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria,
there are 6 days in which the Hajj rites are performed.
So we have put in place mechanism to ensure that on each flight, at least we should have, as much as possible, the medical personnel to accompany the pilgrims and children.
From 2007, gone. This problem is gone.
And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said is this Hajj is compulsory at least once in a lifetime.
Our first message comes from Hassan Ibrahim with a GSM number 0706 940 5419. What are the new plans being adopted by NAHCON for pilgrims' education and orientation?
Very soon we are working on how to reach out to the pilgrims through their phone, through their handsets, so that at every level there will be alert to them on a message that this is what is going to happen, this is what we are expected to do, this is how we are going to do, and so on and so forth. So we are not leaving any chance, any opportunity we have to educate the pilgrims, we try to grasp, we try to go to it.
Mariam Yaro with GSM number 0806-739-5864 sends in a second message, which reads, "What is NAHCON doing to ensure effective service delivery from its staff?"
The chairman felt that how are we going to have a capacity building for our staff? He initiated a weekly presentation of paper to be organized by the admin department, which is my department. And then today is the 4th series of the paper presentation we are doing. You are a living witness, we are there when the commissioner in charge of policy, personnel management and finance did present his paper on quality management and service delivery, a well-researched paper. So honestly, we are on course, and I wouldn't say, apart from training organization that has to do with ASCOM, CMD and others, there is no best training other than this one initiated by the chairman.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك